Welcome back to another episode of Season 1. Today I'll be giving my thoughts on Team Cap and Team Tony. My overall thoughts of Captain America Civil War sprinkled throughout. But before I do that, let's talk some facts about this fan favorite movie. Captain America Civil War was directed by Anthony Joe Russo, who also directed Captain America The Winter Soldier, Avengers Infinity War, and Avengers Endgame. Civil War coincides with a bunch of Marvel anniversaries, such as the 75th anniversary of Captain America, the 10th anniversary of the Civil War comic book, and the 50th anniversary of Black Panther. Originally, Black Panther was going to have a smaller role and not appear in his costume in order to put more focus on Spider-Man. When Sony was playing hard to get, Marvel decided to give Black Panther a bigger role. As soon as they did that, Sony wasn't happy with the returns on The Amazing Spider-Man 2, so negotiations over Spider-Man began. Sam Wilson uses a sidekick drone named Red Wing throughout the film. But in the comics, his sidekick is an actual Falcon. In early scripts, Civil War would have been the first time fans saw Hope Van Dyke as the Wasp. But Marvel decided against it because they felt it would be a disservice to the character. So they waited until Ant-Man and the Wasp for her first appearance in the costume. Chris Evans injured his arm muscles while filming the iconic shot of Cap pulling the helicopter with his hands. The role of Spider-Man came down to two names, Tom Holland and Charlie Plummer. Marvel wanted Plummer while Sony wanted Holland. In the end, Holland was casted in the role because of age. At the time, Plummer was only 17 and Holland was 19. So to start things off, let's talk about Team Tony. So after the events of Age of Ultron, the United Nations puts together the Sokovia Accords, which is the MCU's version of the Superhuman Registration Act that is in the Civil War comic book. This created a major rift between Tony and Cap for years to come. Team Tony consists of Rhodey, Black Widow, Vision, Black Panther, and my boy Spider-Man. They are on the side of signing the Accords in order to keep the Avengers together and to show the world that they mean well. Throughout the MCU, we get to watch Tony, played by the great Robert Downey Jr., evolve into a person that is possessed with protecting the world. He wants a suit of armor around the world, as stated in Age of Ultron. Back in 2016, when it was released, I was all for Team Tony. He cared about the Avengers so much that he was willing to make the sacrifice of having one hand on the wheel, as Black Widow brilliantly words in the film. At first, it was very surprising to see her side with Tony, considering her past with the government and her relationship with Cap that was built back in Captain America The Winter Soldier. What I took away from it was that she wanted to stay in good faith with the government because of all the red in her ledger. Her action scenes are incredible in the film, especially her fight with Bucky after he escapes his cage thanks to Baron Zemo. Her choreography is always a visual treat to see throughout the MCU. Rhodey wasn't a huge surprise to sign the Accords. He's a military man and the best friend of Tony. Aside from Black Panther, Rhodey pays the biggest price because of the Accords. He loses his legs during the airport fight scene. From seeing the fear in his face to Tony's reaction after he hits the ground, that whole scene was heartbreaking to watch. It's one of the biggest, oh shit, just got real moments in the MCU. Now, Vision is an obvious addition to Team Tony. It makes sense because after all, he was created by Tony. His speech while the Avengers are discussing the Accords is a very compelling way to view the world. Our very strength invites challenge. Challenge incites conflict, and conflict breeds catastrophe. Later on, we'll see that he was right. Rhodey almost dies because of the conflict between Tony and Cap. Thanos is another good example because the Avengers make things so difficult for him in Infinity War and Endgame, which causes him to ramp things up so much that half the universe dies. Civil War is a clear example of the genius behind the Russo brothers because not only were they able to juggle all these characters, but also introduced two new heroes. Black Panther, played by the awesome and late Chadwick Boseman, rest in peace Chadwick, and Spider-Man, played by Tom Holland. Black Panther, in my opinion, lost the most in this movie. His father, King T'Chaka of Wakanda, was killed during the Accords summit by Zemo. This drove Black Panther to be consumed by revenge and hate. At the end of the film, we see him realize this and decide to let Zemo live. This, to me, makes him the strongest character in the film. I actually enjoy his performance way more in Civil War than his solo movie. Like Black Widow, his choreography was also a visual treat. Even when he's not in his suit, he's a badass. Now, it's no surprise that Spider-Man is my favorite character in Civil War. Tom Holland steals every scene he's in. Even in the short scene in his bedroom when he explains to Tony why he became Spider-Man. His best scenes by far are his interactions with everyone during the airport fight scene, especially his back and forth with Cap. To me, he's the heart of the MCU. Like everyone else, Tom Holland was born to play his role. Spider-Man actually switches over to the Cap side in the comic book series, but this wouldn't work very well in the MCU because they set up Tony as a major character in his life. So after my most recent rewatch of Civil War, I'm no longer on Tony's side. I understand where they're all coming from, especially Tony and Black Panther. The Avengers do get out of control sometimes, especially with Tony creating Ultron. He had the best intentions, but with the right oversight, the chaos in Sokovia could have been avoided. Zemo became hellbent on destroying the Avengers as a result of that chaos in Sokovia. And then as a result of that, Zemo's vengeful actions, Black Panther loses his father, and Tony and Rhodey almost dies in the end. Now, let's jump over to the other side of the argument with Team Cap. He used to always argue that this should have just been called Avengers Civil War, but after rewatching it countless times over the years, I've changed my tune. It's definitely a Captain America movie. The main plot is Cap protecting Bucky and going against the Accords. The Avengers themselves are background characters, with Tony and Zemo being the two antagonists. The best argument Cap had against the Accords, I think, was when he said, "What if we need to go somewhere that they don't approve of?" He makes a really good point. The first Avengers movie is a clear example of that. We see Nick Fury arguing with the World Security Council throughout the movie about how to handle the alien invasion. They wanted to nuke the city instead of just trusting the Avengers. They proved them wrong. That was when I first started being anti-government in the MCU. This dislike for the government grows in Civil War with how General Thunderbolt Ross handles the Bucky and Zemo chaos. Cap was on the right side the whole movie. He believed that Bucky was innocent, and in the end, it was true. The government still painted him and those who sided with him as criminals because of it. Team Cap consists of Falcon, Bucky, Hawkeye, Scarlet Witch, and Ant-Man. It's no surprise that Falcon and eventually Bucky would side with Cap. Bucky may be Steve's best friend, but Falcon is definitely Cap's right-hand guy. Marvel always does an awesome job coming up with great ways to incorporate Falcon's wings into his fight scenes. His back and forth with Spider-Man is great, but the standout interactions are with Bucky. They were so good that a series on Disney Plus spawned out of them. Bucky is such a compelling character in the MCU because of everything he's been through. I love the scene where Zemo is saying the words to activate the Winter Soldier. The fear in his face as he hears the words creates another oh shit moment in the movie. Sebastian Stan acts his heart out whenever he's on screen. Hawkeye has slowly become one of my favorite characters in the MCU. Jeremy Renner brings so much energy to the role. All the retirement jokes were great, and his fight with Black Widow had the right amount of comedy in it because they're such good friends. It makes sense having him side with Cap because of Wanda. Since the Age of Ultron, he's been a great mentor to her. He even takes on Vision over her. With both of them having their own series, I hope they get more screen time together. Wanda is such a big part of Civil War. Her actions in Lagos was what broke the camel's back and kickstarted the Accords. From Civil War on, she's painted as a villain for trying to do the right thing. It's heartbreaking, and with the trailers for Multiverse of Madness dropping, it doesn't seem like that heartbreak is going to end anytime soon. Last and certainly not least, Falcon recruits Ant-Man, and it makes a lot of sense. With Scott Lang's criminal record, it's no surprise that he would go up against the government. Marvel casting Paul Rudd in the MCU was one of the best things they ever did. He's another clear example of casting gone completely right. He brings so much energy and comedy to the movie, especially during the airport fight scene. Probably the best moment in the film is Giant Ant-Man. With Spider-Man's reaction and all the choreography, it makes the airport fight scene one of the best scenes in the MCU. Chris Evans is Captain America. Every time he's on screen, he gives the character justice. I fully support his side and do not support the Accords in the MCU or the Superhuman Registration Act in the comics. The Avengers should not have to report to the government or be forced to explain themselves whenever they save the world. Cap was right in saying that it's all about control. The government has no right in controlling the Avengers because they have proven time and time again that they are trying to make the world a better place. Civil War is a perfect example for why a little faith goes a long way. The government should have trusted the Avengers, and Tony should have had faith in Cap. He let fear consume him instead of trusting in his newfound family. Zemo is one of the best villains in the MCU because he was smart enough to get the Avengers to destroy themselves instead of attacking them head on. He created a rift between Tony and Cap that would last for years by revealing that Winter Soldier killed Tony's parents. But that wasn't the real gut puncher. Cap knew the whole time and didn't say anything to Tony. This and many of the other parts that are brought up is why Civil War is a top-tier MCU movie. And speaking of tiers, let's talk about where this lands on my MCU ranking. Captain America Civil War takes the number 6 spot on my MCU ranking. I really love this movie, but I feel like the top 5 films on my list earned their spots. Number 5, Captain America The Winter Soldier. This just isn't a great superhero movie, but it's a great movie overall. Number 4, Spider-Man Homecoming. Homecoming is a perfect movie from start to finish and has the best twist in the MCU. And number 3, Avengers Endgame. This is Marvel's greatest hits, and it gives fans one of the best deaths in history. At number 2, Avengers Infinity War. With the epic cliffhanger and Thanos being such a compelling villain, This is why the Infinity War beat out Endgame just slightly. At number 1, Spider-Man: No Way Home. This isn't just the best Spider-Man movie ever, but it's the best Marvel movie ever also. You can find the rest of my MCU list, along with all the other lists I've done, on Letterboxd under Cinematic Reviews. Next week, join me as I give my thoughts on X-Men: Days of Futures Past. Also join me for New Release Monday every week. This Monday, I will be talking about The Batman.